from Detroit, Michigan, USA. In My House, hosted by T. Carlita, where the true stories are told and great music is played.
This is T. Carlita for the In My House Techno Music Show, and once again, we are out the house. So this week, there's been let me backtrack before I even go into introducing who this guy is. So you've heard other DJs on the show talking about record pool this, and they used to come and hang out in the basements to get records. Well, this week we have one of the original, very first record pools. Nick Sinacori is on the show today, and he's going to talk about his days during the record pool and what it meant and how it generated and what it represented during his time. So we're going to talk to him today. So for right now, this is T. Carlita for the In My House Techno Music Show. Once again, the Out the House series continues. And let me just introduce to you Mr. Nick Sinacori. Did I say that right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Nick, let's go back in time. What was the name of the record pool, and when did it first start?
We called the record pool United Disco, and we're looking at 1977, 1978, thereabouts.
Okay. So what inspired you, or how did you get in the business? Were you always around music? How did it come about to start with?
Well, I had done small market radio, and my initial desire was to do broadcast news. So I never thought I had the personality to be a DJ of any kind. Mm-hmm. So it kind of fell my way when the radio station I worked at needed that kind of talent. So I had to pretty much become that person. So I developed the persona for a DJ as such.
Okay, so let's go back to the 70s. And what were some of the, let's just say, we're Detroit, we're automotive. What were the nuts and bolts behind building that machine?
Well, we had a lot of people doing a variety of things with recorded music. So DJs that were working in set locations, bars, restaurants. We have mobile DJs who were all over the place, and the whole desire was to be able to have current product. Anything that was popular on the radio or anything that was popular in any of the clubs, everybody would have that product. And it wasn't always readily available because you had to know the right people to get that music. Mm-hmm. And since I had created something of a contact network when I was doing radio, I used that information to provide that product to people that would never have been able to get it.
So was the record pool, like as we would say, underground? How did the DJs find you? Where did they come from? How did they know that it even existed? What did you have to do to get it out there?
We created a legitimate business entity. We incorporated it. We put it together with a set of rules. There were dues that were required. We had a set location. We put our location in downtown Detroit. In fact, we put it in the Penobscot building. You can't miss the Penobscot building. At the time, before the rent center, it was the tallest building in downtown Detroit. Mm-hmm. So given that we were making ourselves available, readily available, as long as you fit the criteria of what we were looking for as a legitimate DJ of one sort or another, then you fit the criteria for our ability to help out and provide the music.
So how did you get the records? Where the product? When you say product, you're speaking vinyl, right?
We're talking about vinyl in the day.
Okay.
Because this is before CDs existed.
Please say that. MP3s.
Pre-CD, okay? I mean, and that was a quality vinyl. It usually was a little better than what was available commercially because they put a little more vinyl in the pressing.
Okay.
All right, so you didn't have the scratches and the pops and the hisses. It was clean, and if you had the right equipment, it would reproduce very, very well. And you had the right acoustics, you didn't have any problem. All right.
So I'm gonna pick your brain. Do you remember the first record that you actually got? Just like people remember their first dollar that they got in their restaurant establishment.
Or their first girlfriend.
Yeah, their first whatever.
First car, yeah.
So do you remember your first?
What did we get? I know at the time we had, Rapper's Delight had just broken.
Okay.
And I believe we got a consignment of that. We didn't get a lot, but just enough. But it was a first. That was the first rap record that really made an impact. And I believe we had a few of those that came in. So I might have to say Rapper's Delight.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
So now, what pool of DJs? Like, where did they come from? Like, genre?
Urban,
Okay.
urban, suburban, black, white. It was open to, like I said, as long as you met the criteria for what you qualified for that product, then you had it. You had the records.
And you had some pretty well-known movers and shaker DJs in your pool, correct?
Well, we had Hump the Grinder.
Yeah.
You know.
Anybody else?
Air Wars is no slouch.
No, not at all.
I would dare say that there were a couple of fellows that were. I wouldn't say that they were gimmick oriented. Very steady, very good. And Michael T., the co-founder of the organization, was very good. And I'm sure there are other names.
Right.
We're going back
Right,
almost
right.
40 years, and I'm trying to pull them out of the ether.
So did you have like a running roster, like, or what was the pickup day? You said, everything was pretty much set. So what was the day that they actually came to get records?
We had one day of the week. We had to make sure that we had everything accumulated and processed and put the package together for each individual.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd either be a Thursday or a Friday, and that would be the pickup day. And if their dues were in order, if everything was there, then they had no problem. They came in, everything was ready for them in advance, and they would get their product. Another condition that we had is a playlist. What we looked for was a feedback from wherever they were. So they would identify how these titles were working or weren't working.
Okay.
And that was the feedback that would be compiled and sent to the record companies so that they would have a running list of how we were using those records.
Okay. So that's interesting. So basically you guys were like, what do you call it? I don't know what you call it. The charts, like when you
Charts,
yeah.
right.
So
Yeah.
you guys kept the charts. And,
We kept a chart. We kept a overall chart, whereas we would assimilate all that information and compile our own chart. And I have a copy of that. You want to see that?
that of course.
That was the lead-in, right?
Why not?
All right. So we had our top 40 or top 80 or top 100, whatever, and it would be under our header. And this would go to the record stores as well. So given that radio stations had a similar list that they would use, CKLW, WDRQ, which was all disco at that time, they were putting their charts in the stores. We put our charts in the stores too, so that the consumers, when they would come in, people would identify what they were looking for and would assist them as an aid in buying the particular record.
I gotcha. All right. So let's go back to the DJs and the roster and the conditions that was going on in music at that time.
Sure.
Just by you running it, how do you think, or what would you say, how did it impact or how did it relate to what was happening during music at that time, you know, versus people going to buy it, the radio, the clubs? How did the pool bring all those parts together?
Depending on where they were located, so you had clubs and DJs that were strictly urban and related to an urban audience, and then as you got out to the suburbs, it would change a little bit. Not a great deal, because what I found personally, in getting feedback from people in the venues that I worked, they would ask me, "Do you have the latest song that Mojo has?" The electrifying Mojo, on WGPR?
GPR,
right?
Yeah.
So the electrifying Mojo, I said, "What's the song?" You know, well, you got to know it, because if he's playing it, then you've got to have it. All right. So it put me on a spot. You see.
Wow.
But he was good. So I know that he had an audience, and it wasn't in the city; it was in the suburbs. So I knew that there was a broad effect for all this music. So, and you couldn't say it won't work here, it won't work there. No. It will work.
You are in my house, hosted by T. Carlita, where the true stories are told and great music is played.
Welcome, Judge Mathis. Thanks for coming to share an important message with the Wayne County taxpayers.
Well, thank you for allowing me to help. You know, most of my life I was a resident of Wayne County, and so I'm here to help because Treasurer Shabri wants to work with Wayne County homeowners to keep families in their homes and prevent foreclosure.
If you're having trouble making your property tax payments, let us know. We have many resources to help.
Take the first step towards staying in your home by going down to the Wayne County Treasurer's office on the 5th floor of the International Building in Greektown.
Stop by today to learn more about our payment plans and especially the newly extended interest rate reduction program.
Already in the payment plan? It's important you stay in good standing.
Making property tax payments is now easier than ever. We have placed payment kiosks in Rite Aid stores and community centers across the county. We've also added kiosks in our offices. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com.
We are back with Nick Sinacori right here in the heartbeat of the city. And we've just kind of went through a quick, brief, nostalgic history about the record pool and your time getting it started and the first record, Rapper's Delight. That's pretty awesome, man. That had a hell of a bass line on it, too.
Oh, yeah.
That had to be a lot of fun in the clubs,
yeah.
I can imagine.
Oh, yeah.
So let's talk about the various record pools. So there's been several DJs on the show. They have talked about, I think it's United Dance. Is that the name of it, I think? United Dance Music, something. Tyrone Bradley, I know he ran that pool. And your pool. So let's talk about the different record pools and how they worked or didn't work together, or how'd that work?
Well,
the
in Detroit,
politics.
There are a lot of politics, and anything has politics. In Detroit, 2 record pools existed. Disco Detroit, which was the favored. I'm going to use that word because it was. The record companies seemed to have an affinity for Disco Detroit and wanted that organization to be predominant. And what I found when I tried to make contacts with the different labels, the suggestion to me would be, well, why don't you just put yourself into Disco Detroit? Why does Detroit need more than one pool? And my reaction to that was, well, New York has about a dozen. Chicago has 4. Every market that you go into, it seems that more than one pool can exist, and you know, they can operate effectively and efficiently, and everybody gets serviced. So why does Detroit only have to have one pool to service everybody? 2 can do the job just as well, especially where the one pool is not exactly being open-armed with mobile DJs. They make it a point that unless you are working in a club, in a particular club that is catering to a particular audience, you know, it becomes, to me, it seems exclusionary. Like, hey, we're filling in that gap. We're taking in everybody that the other pool doesn't seem to want to bring in. So it can work. Didn't seem to me to be a problem.
Right. So let's talk about more towards, let's fast forward to the end of your record pool days. Why did you stop? What happened? Are there any series of things, or what's the story behind why you kind of stopped doing it?
As we started moving into the 1980s, the popularity of disco as a music form seemed to be on the wane. There was not a big sudden surge, another infusion of super music like there was when the Bee Gees hit with Saturday Night Fever. I mean, disco had been around for a long time. Okay, the history of the music form goes back to Europe. It goes back to where they couldn't afford live music. The gay clubs, the black clubs used it because they couldn't afford live talent. So the history was already in the States. If you remember, in the early 60s, they had discotheques, but they were live musicians that played at discotheques. But the definition of discotheque is music library. So that is the literal translation from the French. A discotheque is a music library, which means it's recorded music. And that's the way it existed in Europe. So they applied that term to Sybil's in New York when that was a hot spot, but live bands were featured. So it's kind of an anomaly there. You know, you're using live music in a live audience, but using the term discotheque because it's a style. It's a style. It's not the actual application of recorded music. So, anyway, you had this variety that was going on. In the 1980s, it seemed it played itself out. You had the issue in Chicago where a radio disc jockey, came up with an anti-disco demonstration at Comiskey Park where they burned records on the baseball field. And it seemed that was the declaration of war against disco and the music form. So, again, the early 80s created this descent, as it were, of disco.
Right. So, as you were getting towards the end, and you were like, since this show is about electronic music, techno, and house, more techno because we are in Detroit, did you get into any of the techno side of things? Was that part of the record of your era? Or
No,
was it,
not for me as such. Not for me as such. And I can only think of the pioneers in that. Like Kraftwerk was a German group that had started that techno. And I believe also Giorgio Moroder was experimenting with that in Europe. It was really primitive at that point. It was pioneering, but coming in. It was happening. You could see it on the horizon. Punk had manifested itself at the same time. So you had techno and punk kind of moving in and becoming the popular form.
Okay. So do you know anything I guess, do you have any sense of the history with Juan and Kevin and the guys that
I knew
started
them.
it?
I knew them.
Okay.
I met Kevin Sanderson.
Okay.
I met him. But again, it was very early on, and it was at that time they were doing club gigs. But you know, at that point in the 1980s, I saw my exit, as it were, from doing clubs, doing more like wedding receptions, things of that sort,
Okay.
and I kept out of the mainstream.
So you handled a lot more. It sounds like you handled more, I guess, disco top 40s of the that time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So how do you see music today? Like the way music is transferred around. What's your take on that? Coming from, you know, then to now. What is your viewpoint on that? How do you see music now?
To be quite honest, there's so much competing. There's so much competing. I mean, the selection that you have now is so. There's so much. I mean, there's a saturation of music in any form that you want, on demand. I mean, MP3s. You can download anything you want. Conceivably, you could download 1,000 titles and program yourself. People can do this on their own. Essentially, a disc jockey in any form. What function does that person have? I mean, they're there. I mean, in the sense, if whoever contracts them really wants them to do the show, then so be it. But essentially, everyone has that ability to do it with the technology that's out there.
Right. Wow. Well, thank you again for allowing me to come into your home. It's been a great honor to have you on the show and to share your very valuable information. And I can't wait to get the feedback from this. And they're going to be like, Nick Sinacori, where'd you find him?
Yeah.
So I want to give a shout out to Hump the Grinder for making this happen, too, because you
Absolutely.
brought him up and you guys
Yes.
hadn't seen each other in 40 years.
40 years.
Woo-wee.
You are In My House, hosted by T. Carlita, where the true stories are told and great music is played.
So when did you start mixing?
Well, in the 90s, things got a little tacky for me. I got sick in 1990. I had Hodgkin's lymphoma,
Oh, man.
and I had to go through chemo and radiation for that, and that kind of took me down a little bit. And yeah, I slowed down quite a bit.
So when you first started doing your mixes, what kind of records? You remember some of the first records that?
So wait, you were a DJ, too?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a DJ.
I'm just messing with him. I know. Of course not.
He's a DJ.
So, for those of you that are tuning in or just wondering where that echo voice in the sideline there, that's Hump the Grinder over there who doesn't really want to be on camera at this moment, but if
It's a
it wasn't for him, this would not be happening. So if you hear that question come off the sidebar,
The disembodied voice.
so, it's really important to get the full aspect because, he was there, I wasn't. I just kind of like, so he can get more out of it than I can. And what's really important is because this show's 4 years, 70 countries watching, and they
Outstanding.
really, the international, they love the real live history.
Yeah.
You know, they love the music and all that, but they
Yeah.
really like the stories. So it's like, you know how people go to the
Sure,
library
sure.
and you see a book that has like 1,000 pages and you swear nobody's going to want to read it.
Yeah.
But somebody that's into that subject,
Right.
they read it. They want
Absolutely.
want every page of
devour
it.
it.
Yeah. So I don't want to leave anything out because
Yeah.
this is really important. I
Yeah.
mean, so of course, you know, Hump, you were there. You got more that into it, and he's been hanging with me on the show too. We both together, so it's important that he brings in a perspective
Sure.
in this piece too.
Sure.
So I just wanted to clarify that, so they'd be like, where's that voice coming from on the other side? He won't be in the camera, people, but you guys know Hump. All right, go ahead, y'all finish chat.
Okay. All right. I you know, with respect to techno, I mentioned Kraftwerk, and Gary Newman is another name that comes to cars, and Giorgio Moroder, who did a lot of experimenting and was the Svengali for Donna Summer. I mean. The sound that Donna Summer had was due in large part to what Giorgio Moroder produced behind her and made it work. And Love to Love You Baby, when you go back to 1977, thereabouts, it was a new sound. That was a new sound. And for the extended cut that got radio play, that was pretty significant. They didn't shorten it in any way. They played it out for the whole thing, even in the to the point where it became orgasmic in the one part of the record, right?
Yeah,
You know. So I remember segues going from Barry White, just a little bit longer, and then going to segue right into Love to Love You Baby. I mean, that's different. That was new. That was new stuff.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, you're talking about a moment there where that germ, as it were, of the techno was being planted, and it became more and more of a go-to form, and became, you know, mutated variety.
Now we know Nick the record pool guy. So now let's talk about Nick the DJ.
Oh my God.
So, Nick the DJ. Now, I always ask the DJs, what goes into the minds of a DJ? What is it that your go-to record, what is in your crate?
Get the crowd on the floor, and in the bar sense or the club sense, it's the alcohol quotient.
What is that?
The alcohol quotient is get them all hot and bothered on the dance floor so that they will go ahead and drink as soon as they get a break.
Okay.
So there is a method to the madness. So if you're going to play a few selections that they're going to immediately hit the dance floor, you know exactly what is going to make that crowd move. So it's not for my entertainment, it's for the crowd. That's why they're there.
Okay.
So if the combination of records at the time if you start turn the beat around, or you go into shame, and you go into these records that are fast and furious, then the dance floor is going to respond. And then at the height of Saturday Night Fever, anything by the Bee Gees. I mean, it was, as long as Bee Gees is surefire. You get them on the dance floor and they're moving, and they're you got a form. I did a place out in Livonia, Mitch House's. It was across from the Detroit race course. All right, and they came to me and they said, "Look, we have an older crowd, and you got to take care of them too." And I said, "Well, what do you want me to do?" "Well, can you play big band?" "You want me to play big band?" Okay, so I'll mix big band. So we'll have the crowds coming and going. So I would do a set of big band. So I would start out with something by Benny Goodman or Glenn Miller, and I would keep the crowd going. And then as soon as they got tired, then I'd segue into something that was a little more current. So I go into George Benson, I go into Natalie Cole, and I bring the new crowd out. So it was coming and going, and that's what made it hot. But the dance floor was never empty. I never had because there'd be somebody on that dance floor for whatever I had to play. So I play Lou Rawls, "You'll Never Have da 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 da." It would have that attractiveness for everybody, and the floor would be crowded. They'd have no place to go, So that was my whole formula.
Coming and going.
Coming and going.
All right. Well, we gonna go. Well, I thank you again for allowing me to come into your house. And Hump, thanks a lot for making it happen.
Hey, keeping it on the line.
All right. This is T. Carlita for the In My House, hanging out with Nick and Hump over there on the In My House Techno Music Show, where the true stories are told. Oh yeah, oh man, we got to get that. Hump's over there going through archives.
Well, then and now.
Oh, look at this guy. Hold it up. Put it in front of your face. That's him right there. That's that guy.
A bunch of autographs.
Yeah, look, girls, ain't he handsome? Oh shoot.
Uh-huh.
All right, Nick, you can let go of your former self now.
What is this? A text message from the Wayne County Treasurer's Office about my payment plan?
That's right. Our Project Text Message program allows you to enroll in our free text messaging service. All you have to do is provide your cell phone number. I'm here today with one of our customer service representatives, Karim Howell. She will explain how it works.
Our customer service team will send friendly reminders and text alert updates about your current payment plan. Everyone gets busy. We want to help you stay on track with your tax payments to avoid foreclosure. Call 313-224-5990 to enroll in our voluntary program. You will receive reminders on tax payment due dates and other important valuable information.
Join Project Text Message today by calling 313-224-5990 or email our office at textinfo@waynecounty.com. Stay in touch. Stay connected.
Well, we just heard from Nick Sinacori and a little bit of Hump the Grinder talking together as well. Now let's take a listen to some of a DJ mix by Nick Sinacori from his archive collections. See if you recognize some of these old school jams. This is T. Carlita for the In My House Techno Music Show.
You are In My House, hosted by T. Carlita, where the true stories are told and great music is played.
Should be dancing. by the name of Rita. Light skin Puerto Rican, I call Mita. The way she moves I can't ignore. She's a porno flick on the dance floor. Twisting, churning, drifts her sweat. When she's through, fellas flock to her. Girls clock while the beat just rocks her side to side. The beat goes boom. The new jack is up saying give me some room. Once again Rita's ready, a smile on her face. The crowd breaks north, giving Rita space. Big buck moving in the stroking pattern. The crowd made a circle like the ring around Saturn. As for the new jack, he's just consumed. His body mutilated like he's just been shooed. She's dangerous on the dance floor. 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 Puff blow down the house. The Latin inside makes a big butt bounce. Swinging left to right and back right to left. The video Venus don't miss a step. She wears leather and lace, a skirt made of satin. You like her, you love her, the lovely loose Latin. On and on, she'll never stop. It's party time and she wants to rock. One by one, her buttons drop. Little wiggle in the middle, no more top. The baseline thumps, Rita jumps. She humps, pumps, and bumps off chumps. Fellas flock to 3 or 4. 2 of them leave, can't take no more. Always ready, Rita's rated triple X. On the dance floor, she's having sex. Taking them on, 2 at a time. Her lips, her hips, and her big behind. What's this French kiss? Excuse me, miss. Rita's not having it, but I insist. Either bust a move or move your bust, your breast, your chest, or your big old butt. Back to Rita and the dance floor porn. Shaking it all night long. Keep it up, dance, how long can you last? The tempo's fast, shake that ass. Move it, every position. Flow, go, no intermission. The crowd is drawn, fellas drooling. Girls, can you do what Rita's doing? Whole style, loose and wild, her style. Meanwhile, you'll smile at your FM dial. She's dangerous on the dance floor. 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 Stop to watch the X-rated dance. Some ashamed by the stance in their pants. Your heart stop, mouth drops, pulse is weak. Pan like a dog from the body heat. She wore butt huggers, they were snug as a bug. My advice to the brothers, wear Jimmy and clubs. No one can chill cause they're all attracted to her over-the-shoulder boulder holder strapped on her back end. Back to reality, back to life. Back to the feature of Friday nights. Hurt me, word to the why. People can party, it's no surprise. Don't slip, don't trip, just hold your grip. She's free to go see her, she's fully equipped. Going round and round, up and down. Stomping her feet against the ground. Guys, eyes glued to her thighs. Rise to a size 9 inches high. The Latin is satin, some call her stripper. Should've zigged, but you zagged and you broke your zipper. Always ready, Rita's ready, giving you more. She's not at your local video store. She's dangerous on the dance floor. 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 Bass is felt bouncing off the wall. Rita won't drop cause she's having a ball. This urban queen rules the hip house scene. Lean, mean, full of steam. Breaking all back, standing on the block. In the middle of the dance floor, you'll get rocked. Rita's rugged, leave her alone. She'll get you on the bone, send you home. Porno flick, her performing art. On the mark, Rita's ready to start. Move smooth in the groove. Rita will prove she's in the mood. Dirty dancer, she does it best. 6 feet under is where you rest. 6 and 9 on her behind, just like fine wine. She improves with time from dawn to dusk. She'll do it all night. I hope you can see her this Friday night. But if you can't, don't get uptight. Yo, superior noise on her with the mic at night. Crank it, pump that bass. Rita's wearing leather and lace. Big butt swinging from left to right. Dripping and stripping on a Friday night. She's free to go see her light skin meter. Time's running on your meter. So meter, Rita, move me, Rita moans. Don't dance alone, work it to the bone. If you're lucky, she'll take you home to a penthouse apartment or a crib in Rome. Feel the S&M on your FM. If you can't see it, where have you been? It's a Groove Me, Move Me movie. Starring Rita and her booty. Yours truly, PCP. Who could ask for more? She's she's dangerous on the dance floor. 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 Boom, bang! Boom, boom, bang! Boom, bang! Boom, boom, bang!
Hey boy, I'd like to talk to you. How's about hitting the dance floor for some bam bam? You see, I didn't come here for no boom boom. Baby, I came here to jam. Bam, 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 I came here to jam on the dance floor tonight so you can make me feel right. Bam, 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 I came here to jam on the talk to you. How's about hitting the dance floor for some bam bam? You see, I didn't come here for no boom boom. Baby, I came here to jam. Oh!
When the drum beats go like this.
Pump up the volume, pump up the volume, pump up the volume, dance, dance.
In My House, hosted by T. Carlita, where the true stories are told and great music is played.